What does it mean to be a doer of the word? What is the word? Let's talk about it. Hey, this is Off the Cuff, and I'm Steve from Torah-family.org. Okay, let's start by reading a few verses from the book of James. James chapter 1, verse 22. Do not merely listen to the word, and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word, but does not do what it says, is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror, and after looking at himself, goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. While leaving these verses up, let's pause for a moment. We have to ask ourselves just what is the word James is telling us to do and not just listen to. We must understand verse 22 here is an important verse. In fact, it's the basis for the context of the verses to come. So, before we continue reading, we seriously need to establish what the word is. Now, something we need to keep in mind here is that the book of James is believed to be the first book written of all the New Testament. So, we know the word being referred to here can't be referring to any of the New Testament, since none of the New Testament had been written at the time this book is being penned. So, what would you say the word is that James is referring to? Whatever the word is, according to James, you're supposed to be doing it. Now, this is where many say we don't have to do anything because the law was done away with. But here's the thing. If one believes the law of God has been done away with, can we really believe the words of Yeshua when he said in Matthew 4:4, "It is written, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God"? We must understand that Yeshua isn't making this up out of nowhere. He's quoting from the Torah itself. He's quoting Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 3, as seen right here. You see, if the law was done away with, then that would mean some of Yahweh's words were done away with. That would then nullify what Yeshua said and quoted, namely Matthew 4:4, when he specifically said, "It is written, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." So, do we live on every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh or not? Yeshua said this. Think of it this way. If Deuteronomy 8:3 wasn't true, or at least wasn't going to stay true, wouldn't Yeshua have said something about it? Wouldn't he have said to his disciples, "Hey guys, things are about to change here regarding the law, and I just wanted you to know"? Surely he would have said something like that, but he didn't say anything like that. When he quoted the word, he knew it stood forever, just as Isaiah prophesied. Isaiah 40, verse 8, "The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God stands forever." It stands forever, and this is what Peter quoted to the New Testament believers just the same. 1 Peter 1:25, "But the word of the Lord stands forever. And this is the word that was preached to you." It stands forever because it's perfect. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 5. "Every word of God is flawless." Psalms 19:7. "The law of Yahweh is perfect, reviving the soul. The statutes of Yahweh are trustworthy, making wise the simple." Again, Yeshua said, "It is written, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Every word. Every word. Not most of them, not some of them, not a selected few here or there. No, every word. Consider also what Yeshua said in Luke chapter 11, verse 27. As Jesus was saying these things, a woman in the crowd called out, "Blessed is the mother who gave you birth and nursed you." He replied, "Blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and obey it." So, what word was Yeshua referencing here? Again, the New Testament hadn't been written yet. It's the same word he spoke when being tempted, the Torah. Thus, every word of Yahweh. You can't quote that verse from Yeshua saying how man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh, and at the same time say Yeshua did away with the Torah. It's bad hermeneutics. It's bad theology, and simply put, it doesn't add up. Either we live on every word from Yahweh, or we don't. Now, having that established, let's go back to James chapter 1. Knowing that verses 22 through 24, James told us to be doers of the word. Let's continue now with verse 25. But the man who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues to do this, not forgetting what he has heard, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does. Do you see the similarity here? Verses 22 through 24 talks about doing the word. Verse 25 turns around and discusses doing the perfect law. Thus, the word and the perfect law are one and the same. Psalms 19:7 says the law of Yahweh is perfect. James tells us this perfect law gives freedom. He then says, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does. How can James say this? Because he knows what the Torah says. In fact, it's almost as if this section in James 1 is a direct reference to Deuteronomy chapter 11. Deuteronomy 11, starting in verse 26. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of Yahweh your God, which I command you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of Yahweh your God, but turn aside from the way that I am commanding you today, to go after other gods that you have not known. Thus, James's words, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does, being a doer of the perfect law. James is telling us to be doers of the Torah. In closing, I asked earlier, what would you say the word is? Whatever the word is, according to James, you're supposed to be doing it. James continues this train of thought into chapter 2, where he says, James 2:17, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Then verse 19, you believe that there is one God. Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. And then verse 24, you see that a person is justified by what he does and not by faith alone. So, yes, faith gets us in. But after that, we're expected to walk in obedience. Faith is the root. Obedience is the fruit. Thus, what James said in James chapter 1, we are to be doers of the word, the perfect law, the Torah, and not hearers only. Well, that's all I have. Think about it. Pray about it. But more than anything, be doers of the word and not hearers only. Until next time, Shalom.